Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another live XY Spark special edition program. We are so glad you've decided to join us this evening. Tonight we have a very special program lined up just for you, as well as a special guest who has decided to become a part of our conversation tonight. You know, guys, at XY Spark, we're ever so grateful to those who have take the time out of their busy schedule to come and be a part of the program. And this evening is definitely a special evening because I have a very good associate friend of mine. I guess that is someone who was there at the very beginning when I had this percolating thought that I wanted to create a program and create a space for men. And so XY Spark was born in that very room where myself and our guest tonight um, used to be co workers together. I'm going to be introducing him in a little while, but please, just before we do that, don't go away. We'll be right back after this short intro.
Grief and loss, trauma, mental health, alcohol and drug use, gender roles, anger management, self-esteem, sexual abuse, domestic violence, and the pressures of societal norms are real-life issues that affect men. Join Rolando, psychotherapist, author, life coach, and motivational speaker that has dedicated his profession to working with men to find a healthier alternative to cope and handle these stressors. Rolando believes that men are lacking in social, psychological, emotional, and spiritual support that is necessary for a lifestyle that promotes healthy masculinity. We invite you to join us on XY Spark, where we discuss issues that men face. At XY Spark, we believe the key for happier families is restoring healthy masculinity.
Okay, we're right back with you here. Thank you so much for staying with us. And so earlier I mentioned our special guest. Our special guest this evening is Dominic Hill. Dominic Hill is a good friend of mine, someone that I have really worked with a number of years ago, someone who I find to be very passionate, who likes giving back to the community, who is a family man. Dominic, he's a family support worker slash facilitator. He's a high risk youth worker, as well as a community wellness coordinator with the Asekowin Friendship Center, and he is a mentor. Dominic has a passion for sharing and empowering families and seeing men reach their true potential. And so this evening, Dominic has decided to quit, to pass upon his beauty sleep, to be with us here at XY Spark. And we just want to say, Dominic, welcome to the program tonight.
Hi, Rolando. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, Dominic. Dominic, we're so excited because we have been XY Spark has been a thought, an idea that has percolated with us for quite some time. And guys, if I were to say someone I would want to be a co-host on XY Spark, it would have to be someone like Dominic because of his role and who he is as a person. So Dominic, tell us a little bit about yourself. And you have so many, you seem to wear so many hats: a family support worker, high risk youth worker, a community wellness coordinator. Tell us a little bit about your work, Dominic.
Yeah, so I've been facilitating one of the workshops I've designed here for the human service industry, mainly for the high risk youth work on crisis intervention prevention. And I've been teaching crisis intervention for the past 16 years. And I have been a frontline worker in the human service world as a high risk youth worker for 17 years. And I've been in the youth program for over 24 years. And now my life brings me to working as an in-home support worker, just recently working with dads and supporting families in the community of Rocky Mountain House, where my wife has been born and raised, and we're raising our kids here. And yeah, I enjoy what I do.
Wow, man,
Very
Dominic, it
passionate
sounds
about
like
what I do.
yeah, it sounds like you have so many years of experience, man, and you still sound like such a young man. So It seems like the work that you do has really been very beneficial to you. Um, Tell us, 17 years you say you've been working in one era, 24 years in one era. What are some of the main challenges that you have seen that young men and young men at heart, what have you seen throughout your journey as you work with these men and youth?
Well, there's no doubt about it. I think the number one issue that the young men that I've worked with, which is that where I specialize, 12 to 18 males, is having that positive male role model in their life. The majority of males that I've worked with over my years come from a single parent family, or the dad has been absent, or is in and out of the picture. So having a positive male role model in their life is probably the number one, if not, the number one issue for young men these days.
Mm. Mm. And you feel, Dominic, based on your experience, you see this as something that we really need to improve on, eh?
Well, the majority of the men that I work, the young men that I worked with in my careers have all had some sort of trauma in their life, right? And it's a focus on mental health these days. And I think XY Spark and myself, I think the stars just aligned when everything started up and where I was in my path in life with my family and my career and staying connected with you over the years. I think, again, the stars just lined up and fell into place in the exact time with XY Spark.
Mm. Wow. Thank you, Dominic. And guys, believe it or not, Dominic is not someone that XY Spark has paid to come and say this. Okay. Uh, I just wanted to make sure I put that disclaimer out there, Dominic, because persons may be thinking, okay, now XY Spark is paying people to come on and speak about good about them, and so we just wanted to put that out there. Dominic, tell me, as it relates to the work that you have been doing. Okay, we have been in this pandemic now for about a year, roughly, and tonight we're saying our topic is men making provision to support each other during the pandemic, real life lessons. Tell us a little bit about, since this pandemic has started, what have you seen being some of the major needs of the men that you have been working with and the youth that you've been working with?
Well, I think for me, I've laid it out for me in that, I need to maintain my mental health. And my kids' mental health is a reflection of my mental health. And I think men need to not be so tough on themselves getting through this pandemic. And it's been told to us by teachers, it's been told to us by employers, do what you can to make it work, and not to be so hard on yourself. Our lives of the world, everybody's life in the world has changed, especially in Canada. It was January 25th, it was our 1 year anniversary of us being in pandemic. And my goal is to maintain a normalcy for my family, to help maintain or improve their mental health.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we can't, I don't think we can reiterate that enough. And what you've said there, Dominic, is so important. Maintaining your mental health and also working on maintaining the mental health of your family. There are a lot of homes now where I think as men, we can naturally be hard on ourselves. We can beat ourselves up. We can feel like we're not doing enough. We can get into that funk where we get into self blaming, and it even becomes harder when our partners are not supportive, or when we are engaged in activities that are interfering with our abilities to do that. So what are some of the suggestions that you would want to make to men apart from not being hard on themselves? What are some of the things that
You
you want?
know, we're practicing XY Spark down here. We're part of the Four Elements men's group down here in Rocky Mountain House. Both of my agencies that I work for have given me the opportunity to ignite and start a men's group as of last year. And, we're in the middle of this. So we're practicing XY Spark and restoring healthy masculinity. And one of the things I want men to do is to, some of the questions we've asked them is to, create your top 5 priorities for the pandemic. And everybody's is going to be different, but we want to get sort of parallel priorities to,
Mm,
to share to the men. It's about your mental health, right? It's about you have so many more things that you need to worry about during the pandemic when it comes to isolation and not being able to go in public and communicate and stay connected with your loved ones and stay connected with your friends and your families. And I think a lot of men are realizing how important that is in their life. So, you know, even myself, I have to open up and be a little bit more vulnerable and let people get to know me a little bit more. I'm an introverted person, and that's, my process of my goals of what I'm trying to do. And I think whether it's very slow steps or really fast steps, as long as you're making them, you continue to move forward.
mm. Wow, you said something important, Dominic. You said you have learned to open up more, and as you mentioned that, men are practicing ways to restore healthy masculinity through the model that we are trying to promote here at XY Spark. And you also said that create a top 5 priorities. I don't want to put you on the spot in any way, Dominic, but off the top of your head, um, could you give the men some idea about what that looks like as it relates to a top 5 priority? And because there are some men who may have a top 5 priority, and certain things that's going to make that top 5 priority be work is missing. So give us an idea, because for some persons, when they're your top 5, they are not really thinking about themselves per se. So can you give us an idea of what that would look like?
Well, I talk to my audience a lot of times. I talk about, our brain, our head is our computer, it's our engine. We have to keep it running well. And that's sort of how we keep our engine going. That's how we keep our vehicle moving, which is our body. So, my top 5 priorities are practicing positive mental health for myself. And that's just the large umbrella. There's lots of things under that umbrella that you need to do to maintain your mental health.
Mm,
Having that balance in your fulcrum in your life, of having positive experiences versus negative experiences, and getting your vitamin D. I've challenged the men in the Four Elements men's group to get out twice this week and takes 30 minutes of time to themselves and not feel guilty about it. And it's 30 minutes of their life that they can have to themselves to create that balance, to having positive experiences. Our program through the Four Elements is to be connected with Mother Nature, and that's the best therapeutic, prevention that you can have in your life. My number 2 is the mental health of my kids. My number 3 is to have a positive marriage and a positive families, interactions and connections. I painted a
mm,
chalkboard in the basement for my kids, and I created a climbing wall in the backyard for my kids, and we have snow forts. All those things that can keep them connected in somehow of interaction. Maintaining an income, we have to change the way we are communicating and connecting in this virtual world that we say now that we're in. And overall, I want my family to be my priority, um, to have the best outcomes for my kids long term, right? To create a
mm,
normalcy for them for long term. Yes.
mm, mm. Wow. Dominic, you said something that's very hard for a lot of men to do. You said taking 30 minutes for yourself and not feel guilty. A lot of men they really struggle with that. And what I find funny is some men struggle with that, while some men uh they overdo it. You know? So
Yes.
they'll be home, but they're not really home, you know. So and when I say that is their home, but they take all the time for themselves. They leave it all up to mom, or they leave it all up to grandma or whoever is in the home, you know. And when they go out, they really don't come back until, so they're sort of there, but not really there. So, uh, how does one balance that? Because that is something that I think has been one of the derailing factors in a lot of homes, especially during the pandemic. People disappear, People are there, but they're not really there. So how do we balance
Well,
that out? How does that happen?
you know, making changes in your life is about. I think the first step is about recognizing. You have to recognize that maybe you're spending too much time at work. You have to recognize that you're spending too much time working in the car, not enough time, not entertaining your kids, but not enough time interacting with your kids. Right? Just be a
Mm,
presence like the present. Your kids more than anything. If you're sitting in the same room with them, you're present with them. Right? You're there. My top uh, request on the services that we provide to our young men. And the top one is to provide a positive male role model in your life. And you have to be present in order to do that. And I think
mm,
when men can take that time and be present with their families and be present with their kids, knows right now is no better time to be able to do that because we're sort of, in a way, being forced to do that by staying home and not going out in public and interacting and going to social gatherings and if you're making the right choices. Then you're home with your families. But don't
mm,
get me wrong, whenever you have the opportunity to step away and spend some time to yourself, allow you to think, whether it's a 15-minute down the walk or whether it's 10 minutes in the backyard or in the shop, take that time to create that balance, right? Don't be in it 4 or 5, 6 hours and be frustrated with an activity or an event that's taking place. Break it up. And the same
mm.
expectations that you have for yourself regards to letting things go sometimes and you have to understand that kids are feeling this stress too, right? So
Mm,
you
mm.
have to let some things go and don't pick every battle and just live a little bit more of an easier life. And I'm just going to continue to preach how when you're connected with Mother Nature, there's nothing more therapeutic than that, right?
Wow. And guys, I hope we're listening and we're taking notes here, real story, real life experiences, real persons that are in the field and experiencing it. And what Dominic is saying, and I like the five, priorities that Dominic, and Dominic started off with the idea of having a positive mental health for yourself, then the mental health of your kids, the importance of your marriage, your relationship, okay, maintaining an income. He narrowed them down. He pinpointed some stuff, and you have got to seek to find what your five priorities are, and seek to see how you balance that as you move forward, as you continue to practice healthy masculinity, because healthy masculinity is about having balance and being aware of the things that you're doing that's not working. And as the pandemic goes on, it's really taking advantage of how do I capture and utilize a positive space in my family. And I think that's going to be so critical and so important. Dominic, you said that you've worked how many years with families, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. Um, now, as you continue to interact with families, I know the pandemic has sort of put a little wedge in that and stuff. But as it relates to your interaction with families, we talked about the men, we talked about the youth missing out on good role model. It's one of the things that you've seen. Um, what would be some of the advice from your own expert lens that you'd want to sort of encourage uh, dads in families? What would you say to a family right now about a way that they can keep their heads level during this pandemic, because this seems like we still have a little way to go and a lot of people are very frustrated now, and from your area of expertise, um, how do we encourage families now? Because sometimes I feel, Dominic, like the encouragement piece is running out. People are getting weary. How do we encourage families now?
One foot in front of the other.
Mm,
And I think no matter what your five priorities are for your uh, during the pandemic, they're all interconnected.
mm,
You know what I mean? Sometimes you can't do one without the other. And
Mm-hmm.
I put my mental health first because if I didn't have the mental health first and have the positive state of mind, probably wouldn't be able to achieve the others.
Mm.
Right? So by putting your mental health first and putting you as the base, as the man of the house, and meeting the needs that your family, your wife, your kids needs, um, and stepping up right now in this time, in this need, and being altruistic and putting other people's needs before your own sometimes, right? But
Mm.
I just want to emphasize by putting your mental health first, and whatever that's the large umbrella, and whatever it takes to practice that mental health, right? Staying connected with loved ones that you can't, do it virtually, figure it out. The
Mm-hmm.
4 Element Men's Group is here to help you support, get through some of those small challenges. Because not everybody
Mm-hmm.
knows everything. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
knows different things. So get
Mm-hmm.
that support. It's okay to reach out. It's okay to reach out and ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you
And,
say that
and,
again,
and
Dominic? It's okay.
it's okay to reach out and ask for help. Not everybody
Mm-hmm.
knows everything, but the men that are around you, your support network, everybody knows different things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you know, the hardest part is saying, "Hey, I'm having some problems with this. I'm having some problems with that." And I'll give you an example. I have been working with a guy in men's group, and I've worked with him in the past, and he's got some now legal issues coming up. And out of all the people that he could have called, he called me and says, "I'm sorry to bother you so late, but I have this question. Can you help me?" And I gave him the advice, I gave him the direction, and I didn't tell him what to do, but I gave him his options. And then I called him back a couple of days later, and that's all settled out. But I could hear the panic in his voice for the first call. And then in the second call, much more relaxed. Now, tell me who would be a better father, right? The man who's stressed and frustrated about legal concerns in his life and is trying to be there for 5 kids, or the man who now knows what his 30-day, 40-day, 60-day future looks like so that he can still sit here and provide for his kids? And
Mm.
how is he going to be able to interact and be in a better state of mind? So reach out,
Mm-hmm.
ask for help. Right?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Dominic, it would not, we wouldn't do due justice if we didn't allow you to tell us a little bit more about the four elements. You have alluded to it. Tell us a little bit more about these four elements, because it sounds like that's something that is really empowering men down there, where you are in Rocky Mountain House there. Tell us a little bit more about it.
All around the mental health sector, everybody's recognized that there's a lack of supports for men with some of the challenges that they go through in life, whether they have legal issues in the past, whether they have domestic issues in the past, whether they have trauma in the past, and having those supports for men. So we created a men's group called 4 Elements Men's Group, and pre-restrictions, we were meeting once a week in a wilderness setting, cooking outdoors, having conversations, getting to know each other at the very preliminary stages of this men's group. Now it is continuing virtually right now. In and out, we're all learning how to use our devices, and we're just waiting for the word to get reconnected face to face again. But the direction is an outdoor adventure-based men's program, teaching men's wilderness survival skills, allowing them to learn those survival skills and relate them to the urban living, right? And just everybody's learning everything, everybody's teaching everything. And I'll tell you a little
Mm.
bit about my day today about having the balance. This is my day today, and I almost posted it, but maybe I will. Sitting by a river, um, having lunch. I bought lunch, chili in a chili in a bun and a hot chocolate. Sitting by the river, taking a picture of the river, and my post was going to be, what do you think I'm achieving in this picture?
Mm.
And I want people to think what I was achieving, but I was achieving peace.
Mm-hmm.
I was achieving peace in that picture. So
Mm-hmm.
when my kids come back from having their visit with their grandparents, that I'll be in the
Mm-hmm.
right space of mind
Mm-hmm.
to take their energy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We all know what
Mm-hmm.
happens when kids visit grandparents; they get full of sugar and come on back home. So I want to
Yeah.
be ready for their energy. I want to be ready for their energy, and that's
Yeah.
I think a lot of the battles we have in our life, it's 80% is preparation, and
Mm.
20% is action and practicing it. So when you can prepare yourself for that, that's in my mind, that's what restoring healthy masculinity is. Finding
Mm.
balance, getting that peace, getting ready for the sugar high for your kids, and being present for them, so that you can help maintain their mental health and a little sense of normalcy for them through this pandemic.
Wow. Thank you, Dominic. Dominic, do you have any advice that you'd want to give to our youth? Because, at XY Spark, we really have a passion to empower our youth or younger men. As you talk about them missing that mentorship, uh, what did you say to a youth probably now that's listening to XY Spark who you may be feeling discouraged, you may be needing some supports, you may be feeling isolated, from family. Uh, what would you say to a youth being having all the years experience you have as a high risk youth worker?
I think the advice that I would give to the youth, that I've given to a lot of my youth who have become my client, so to speak, and I become their youth worker, is to give somebody an opportunity, is to give the action, give the event an opportunity. If someone approaches you and say, "Hey, listen, I would like to be your mentor," or you've been signed up to this youth work program, I want you to give that person the opportunity to prove that they can meet your needs. I want you to give that person the opportunity to prove that maybe they can help you move forward in life. Give that person the opportunity just to see what it's like. Most young men, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, are usually hesitant to start a youth work program, are usually hesitant to get a mentor. In all my experiences, they usually are like, okay, now I'm going to call you twice a week. And they're calling me, right? Instead of me trying to call them and get them from in front of the screen. So give men in your life an opportunity to step up and to mentor you. If it's something that you're lacking or it's something that you feel that you need, just give people opportunities to help.
Hmm. 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 Wow. Okay. Okay. So there you have it, guys. That's the word from Dominic. Dominic has touched on some very, very important areas. He has given some advice to families about things that we can do, to the men about things that they can do, to our youth about what they can do. And I think that is so powerful. And I'm hoping that as you listen, as you interact with us here on XY Spark, we're hoping that you would have heard something specific that applies to you. Dominic, we really appreciate the insight that you've given us. We can definitely hear coming from you, your years of experience. Each time Dominic opens his mouth, I hear nothing but wisdom and encouragement going out. And guys, this is what it's all about here in XY Spark. Dominic, XY Spark is also connected with the Four Elements Men's Group, and we work collaboratively. So, Dominic, before you go from us, can you tell us a little bit about this collaborative work that's been going on with XY Spark and the Four Elements?
Yeah, so again, my two agencies have given me the opportunity to connect with men. I put the word out there with men that I know in the community, men that I've worked with in the past, men that have been my clients in the past, and see if they would like to be a part of this Four Elements group, using Mother Nature as the background. And we're connected because we're promoting restoring healthy masculinity down here in Rocky Mountain House. We got the men's shirts, we got the men's some outdoor wilderness survival gear to get them started, and we're trying to stay connected through this restrictive procedures that are in place now as much as we can. But let me tell you, we're all feeling pretty anxious to get back out there and into Mother Nature and doing some cooking outdoors and having those conversations with that sort of
Mm,
relaxing sort of balance. And that's what I'm trying to get the men to do, is to have a little bit of balance. It's okay to take that, 2, 3 hours a week asking of you per week to come and see us and connect and relax and rejuvenate. And
yes.
promoting XY Spark down here in Rocky Mountain House. I've been approached to do it in another town, and it's taken off in maybe 4 different towns at this particular time, all just through word of mouth. And we're
Wow.
practicing the book presented by Rolando by yourself. Giving myself permission to grow. 7 solutions to personal development, and that's what it's about, moving forward in life.
Perfect. Dominic, we thank you so much for giving us the time tonight. We appreciate all that you've said. And, we just wanted to know that we are excited to have you as a part of the XY Spark family. And, guys, listen. Dominic is going to come back again. This is just his first initial introduction to XY Spark. And guys, if you want to reach Dominic, how can people connect with you if they would like to reach you? How can they find you? Dominic? Okay, so looks like we've lost Dominic there a little bit, somewhere along the line. Dominic, are you back with us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. So, Dominic, we just wanted to know, how can, what if there's someone who's listening and they'd like to connect with you? How can they reach you?
I can be reached domhill84 at gmail.com. I can be reached at the Asekowin support, rnfcs.ca. That's the Asekowin Friendship Center. Or they can connect with me through you, Rolando. You have lots of advertisement out there. I'll get you I'll get you to post all my contact information about Four Elements. And the cool thing I like about Four Elements is we're supposed to be outdoors, connecting with Mother Nature. But if you need any type of support virtually, we're here for you on that as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dom. That's good to know. And guys, believe it or not, Dominic, the Four Elements Men's Group, along with XY Spark, we are planning to have an event in May. Okay, we're planning to have an event in May. We want you guys to look out for it. We're hoping that the restrictions will be lifted, but we are planning to have a huge event from Eastern Canada all the way to over here in Western Canada called a March for Men's Mental Health Awareness. Guys, you have to look out for that. You can't afford to miss that. Plan for it. We're thinking it's going to be either the first or the last week of May. We're trying to let it not be on that May long weekend, guys. And so we want you to look out for that. Plan for it. It's going to be big. Okay, it's going to be in Rocky Mountain House, and it's going to be in here in our northern little town in Fort McMurray. It's going to be in Eastern Canada. It's going to be in Ontario. It's going to be a huge thing. So plan it to be a part of it as we work together. Dominic, once again, we can't tell you how much we appreciate that you've been here. And I'm wondering if anyone who is on the show have any questions that they'd like to ask at this time before we conclude. Anyone has any questions? And while you're probably thinking about that or a comment or whatever, we want to remind you that XY Spark continues to have our live programs on Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time and on Saturday evenings at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you're in the Eastern region, that will be 2 hours ahead. So it would be 11 p.m. for you on a Wednesday night or 10 p.m. for you on a Saturday night. Please put it in your calendars and feel free to join us as we continue to promote healthy masculinity. There are no questions. And so, in the meantime, I want to say, Dominic, once again, thank you for being here with us. Thanks to you, our faithful listeners, who, without your participation and presence, our show would not be the same. Until next time, please keep joining us, keep sharing, continue to encourage your friends, males or females, to become patrons of XY Spark and to join the family. Thank you, guys. This is Rolando, your boy. Peace out until we talk to you again next time.
Please join Rolando next time on XY Spark as he engages us in practical discussions that promotes healthy masculinity and challenge men to live extraordinary lives. At XY Spark, we believe the key for happier families is restoring healthy masculinity.